All right. Welcome to the show, Kensie. Kensie. I'm waiting on you all morning. What took you so long?
I feel like I have the post vacation or post holiday hangover. Have you ever heard of that?
Of course, but I feel like I have that every day these days.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, I drove back from Michigan yesterday. We got back at like 10:30. We were actually watching college football for most of the day, so we didn't leave until I think like 4:30 or something. So it's a long drive, and getting up this morning, I'm like, I just want my coffee. I want a Christmas movie.
You texted me that something about like your sister like missed a flight. The way I read it was your sister got like lost and never made it home from Thanksgiving, but I know that's not what you meant to say.
No, I was telling you that she couldn't come home for Thanksgiving because the flights were so expensive. Like, I mean, she comes home almost every year, and for some reason this year they were just like astronomical. I don't know if she waited too long to get her tickets or something, but yeah, it sucked.
So what did she do?
Well, so this is actually, I have two sisters. I don't know if you know that. I have one, obviously, my sister in Orlando, but it was the other sister that didn't come home. And she lives in New York City, and she actually went to the Macy's Thanksgiving parade. So she had a great time. Like, I don't think she was super upset to not be coming home, but she has a roommate and they just made food at their apartment. So
she's the nice one.
she's the less devious one.
Well, if we're speaking in Wicked, she's the good witch.
Well, is the good witch good? Like, you know the story, right?
Yeah, but don't spoil it for Ellis. What you want to have this conversation? If Glinda's a good witch?
Yeah, I mean, is she? I mean, obviously, like, ooh, part 2, Wicked. That's all next year. But I did see the first movie the other day, and I'm going again on Tuesday.
I've been binge watching Return to Oz.
Ooh,
No,
what's that?
No, I'm just kidding. That's the sequel to the Wizard of Oz.
I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah, well then you won't know who directed it either.
No, probably not.
No, Walter Murch. Who?
Yeah, 58% Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, I thought that was your accuracy of knowing my references.
I don't know who that is.
I can't wait to see Wicked. And so there's a theater across the street, and they're sold out. Everything's sold out. Like, I can't even see Moana 2. Not that I want to.
Oh. Is that the big theater at Disney Springs?
Yeah, that's where I live. Correct.
Yeah, so my sister saw Wicked there. I think it was like Wednesday or Thursday, the week that it opened, and she said everybody was dressed up. People were singing in the theater, which I have a huge issue with that.
Massive issue.
Yeah, like it's just so disrespectful when people are trying to watch the movie. Like, I get it. I was on the edge of my seat. I wanted to sing The Wizard and I. Like, I was so excited, but I was more excited to hear the songs. I didn't want to ruin it for everybody. Nobody sang in my theater, but I don't know if it was because it was the first show that my sister went to. It's all the diehard fans, but she said everybody was dressed up. It was crazy.
Would you like to sing it here? We can do that.
Do you have a request?
No, I mean, if you feel like you want to sing that song, I'll stand back.
No, it's good. I will spare everybody.
You got a new mic. This is the time.
Wait, I do have a new mic. Does it sound good?
Seize the moment.
Yeah. I know.
Anyway, I can't wait to see it. I know you're going to go see it for a second time. But yeah, it's like, okay, Rocky Horror. Sure, that was the deal with Rocky Horror. Do you remember Rocky Horror? Probably not.
I haven't seen it, but I've heard of it.
Okay, so let's do the time warp.
Okay.
So everybody would get up in the aisles and dance and sing along to this movie. But it was the nature of the movie. This movie just came out, so it's not quite the same thing. I also have an issue with everybody taking pictures, and so I'm actually very nervous to go to the movies because I haven't been in so long, and I'm a kid. I was a kid that all I did was go to the movies. I'd go to the movies by myself. Grease came out. None of my friends wanted to see Grease, even my closeted friends.
Man.
But yeah. Well, I don't want to put anybody on blast, but like, you know, I knew they were in the closet. I'm like, you sure you don't want to go see Grease? I'm the straight kid. I love musical theater. You sure you don't want to go see Grease? Okay. I'll go by myself. You sure? I mean,
That's
Danny
hilarious.
Zuko's a handsome man. I can say it. You can't.
Right. Well,
but,
and like, did people know that it was going to be like that great of a movie? You know,
I thought Grease.
Yeah.
I don't know. Grease is a weird one, you know, because Grease is like the cultural impact of a movie like Grease. It's really remarkable. I don't know. I think the story is in that book, Keys to the Kingdom, the Michael Eisner story. I think Grease is in there. But yeah, Grease was not destined to be the hit it became. And it is a fantastic picture.
So was it a musical before the movie, or did the movie come first?
I think it was a movie based on a musical, but I don't think it had I believe. I don't think it had the acclaim. I think the movie put it on the map. I could be completely wrong. But Grease is just... But nobody sang along in the theaters.
Well, right, as they...
No, you watched.
should.
You want to know who sang along at Grease? John Travolta. Yeah. With Olivia Newton-John. Nobody wanted to hear me. I sat there by myself watching it. I was like, wow, they're really good at singing. You know who's not? Me.
Yeah.
That's why I paid for a ticket, to see them.
Right.
I don't want to hear my neighbor. No offense, Kensie. I don't want to hear you singing. I mean, I do for podcast purposes, but if I'm watching Wicked in the theater, it's not about you.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it blows my mind that people are doing that. So I don't know. I hope that people are starting to get the hint, because I know everybody's talking about it, and I don't know. I mean, it was so fantastic. And I was actually a little nervous going into it, because how many times have they done like movie adaptations from musicals that have turned out well? You know, like they took a risk, right? You know, you had to get the perfect cast. You had to have all the songs perfected. And it's crazy, because if you look up like some of the details of the movie, like they were singing live. And
yes. Yeah, I saw that.
Cynthia Erivo did all of her own stunts while singing. Like it's incredible the amount of talent that went into this production.
Well, not only are they singing live, consider how many times they're singing in a day of filming.
Yeah.
So that's a huge vocal strain. Now,
I know. Now, I mean, it was over 100 days of film.
Yeah. Now, I mean, they could probably mix and match to a certain extent, because they're probably, you know, nailing everything to a T. But much like a music video. But, you know, there's real talent there. I'm just excited to see it. And I'm more excited to see it for the music. But I think what'll be fun for me is I haven't really seen the story in a long time since I saw the play.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun to sort of see the story in a movie.
Well, it's interesting because I saw the production when it came around on, you know, the Broadway tour about 3 years ago, and there were just more details in the movie. And I know that I think there's a book for Wicked, and I think the details are in the book. So there's people that knew about it prior to the movie, but I wasn't one of them, because I've only seen it on Broadway. And it was just such a cool story. I don't know. There were parts that, made me feel uncomfortable. And I think that's the whole intent, just with how the story goes. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody that hasn't seen it, but.
Did you cry?
Multiple times.
Wow.
Like, I think it was because there's so much emotion behind the songs and the storyline. And, to be honest, a lot of the story is political. So coming fresh off the election less than a month ago, it really pulled at my heartstrings, and there was beauty behind it. Like I was sobbing in the last song.
You don't strike me as the type to cry. You're more of like to me, you're more of like an eh.
Well, it's funny because I went with my mom and she looked over at me and she's like, "Oh my God, you're sobbing." And I was like, "Yeah," because she didn't expect that from me either. And then I get home and my fiance saw Gladiator that night. So we went to completely different movies.
That's hilarious.
And he was like, "How was it?" And I just started crying and I was like, "It was so good." And he's like, "Are you serious right now? Like, you're not an emotional person like this." And it's just so funny. I was like, I mean, I just saw the movie. I got out of the theater like 10 minutes ago and came home, but he was just like, "What the heck?"
It turns out he cried at Gladiator, but for different reasons.
Yeah. He's like, "I did the same thing."
So wait a second though, because like you didn't even cry when you got engaged. You were like, "I'm
oh
pumped."
My gosh. No, I definitely cried.
Oh, okay.
It was.
I stand correct.
But he always just makes a joke that I'm like very unemotional. I don't like hugs.
But see, like when I said to you, "Oh my God, you must be so excited to get engaged, to get married," you're like, "I'm pumped," and I'm like, "Who says that?" And by the way, we literally had a text exchange not even last week, like days ago, and I was actually referencing this, and I go, "Kensie," I was like, "You said I'm pumped," and I was like. So then I just kind of like took on the role of Kensie in the text message thread. And I was like, that's like, who says that? I just got a brand new flat screen TV. I'm pumped. To which Kensie replies, "Oh my God, what kind of TV did you get?" And I just wrote back, "Oh my God, I'm mocking you." And so it just.
It's hard to tell over text. Okay.
Yeah, but you know me by now. Like, I mean, quotes would have delivered the message. Maybe that's my fault, but
yeah,
but I don't.
Oh my gosh!
I can't believe you cry. And so then Brian asks you about Wicked, and your response is to cry more.
Yeah, I mean I was still tearing up, but then I just started sobbing again when he asked me because I just thought about how amazing it was.
Hey, Kensie, how was the movie?
I was like, it was so good, and just like burst out into tears again. It was so funny.
I just think it's funny that you cried.
I know. I mean, you'll see for yourself when you go see it.
But to be fair, I think I cried at Grease.
When?
I don't know.
Like tears of joy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they come together, that whole thing. Like, that's exciting.
Was it during like the carnival at the end, or was it like?
I think I cried at the carnival. I think it was a moment for me.
When they're just driving off into the flying car.
No, I cried. That was a different, much like Brian at Gladiator. Those are different tears. But did I really cry at Grease? Let me think about that. I've cried at many movies. I don't know if I've cried at Grease. I feel like
that's fair.
I feel like if I did cry at Grease, it would just be sometimes I'll get, or at least when I was a kid, I would get emotional during the finale of a movie. Like in other words, if a movie was done right, then you can have those tears of joy and just be like, "Oh my gosh, like what a great story!" Like blah blah blah, So
right.
And I loved going to the movies as a kid because you would just go. You'd go into the theater, and for 2 hours, everything would just stop in your world, and you would escape.
Right.
What I'm afraid of now is, like I'm going to go and it's just going to be people talking on their cell phones, making videos, taking pictures, and I'm going to be like the angry old man,
I mean, it is annoying. And for a while, I was like, are movie theaters going to be around, for a while? Because you can get all of these movies at home. They did like the direct releases to streaming platforms during COVID and everything. But like, I just love going to the movies. Like, it's just an experience for me. But I actually have to laugh though. All the movie theaters have like those really comfy reclined seats, and like the one that I have at home in my hometown has heated seats.
Ooh.
And I'm not even kidding. I fell asleep during the Barbie movie last year because I was so comfortable. I felt like it's not a bad movie, but
it's like the opposite emotional response.
I know, like everybody, had the same reaction from Wicked. Like, it was so good. It's so inspirational and all that stuff. And I was like, snoozing in my seat. I mean, to be fair, I was out on a boat with my family all day. We had some drinks and then we went and saw a movie at 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
I was destined to fail, but it was very comfortable. Like, I think if I was sitting in those, normal seats without a heated seat, I probably would have been fine.
So there was this girl I met once. I was working on a show. And I don't even remember when this was. So I don't remember. It was some Harry Potter movie. And I was like, I'll go. I'm not really like into Harry Potter. I'll go. And I fell asleep. And she never spoke to me again.
What was it, like Deathly Hallows Part 1 or something?
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
If you're not a fan, then the last 3 movies are like incredibly boring because you have to know the backstory. Otherwise, they're just very long. And
yeah, but I felt like that was held against me, and like
I mean, from Harry Potter fans, I can absolutely see that.
By the way, it's interesting to me how Harry Potter fans have turned. Like, Harry Potter was loved, and now Harry Potter seems to be hated. Like, Harry Potter
because
fans.
Of J.K. Rowling?
Yeah, there's that whole thing. But Harry Potter used to be so, and like, it's interesting to me that Universal has invested so much money in building out all this Harry Potter stuff when at some point that could all go away.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's canceled. I think she's just canceled.
I don't think anything's capable of being canceled unless you're talking about advertisers, okay? Unless something is truly driven by advertisers, you can't cancel somebody. Capitalism can certainly remove somebody from benefiting, supply and demand. If everybody boycotts something and the demand is gone, then somebody's business will implode. But the business of Harry Potter is not going anywhere. The only way I think it could go anywhere over time is if they decided they actually wanted to distance themselves from it because it became so tainted. Now, let me just say this. I don't think them getting rid of something like Harry Potter Land would ever really, really happen. But that's still so fresh for Universal. Like, you got to think about that. Like, one day they might look at all that and go, yeah, like, this was great when it worked, but you know what? Who's reading Harry Potter?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think some people just want to remain ignorant to what she said, which, like, I guess that's fine. But it's an interesting thing because, like, what?
What did she say?
Oh, I don't know what she said word for word, but she essentially said that she was anti-trans.
Did she though? Did she say that, or did she say something more like about competing in sports? And then they came. I'm asking. I don't know.
Oh, I don't know.
See, that's the problem. And I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying, like, what she said and what people said she said and the perception of what she meant and all that. This is wild to me.
Yeah.
There used to be a time where people's opinions were kept to themselves and you could celebrate somebody's art, okay? and you didn't have to worry about separating who they were as a person from the art because they didn't let you in. But then over time, particularly as we hit the 90s, the celebrity culture ramped up, and then you add the internet, and people have become just so obsessed with every waking detail.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, Kensie, I'm nobody. Like, I'm nobody, okay? I have this little TikTok following. We do this podcast together, okay? I'm not, I'm not a hair follicle off of the head of somebody that has any acclaim in terms of the entertainment landscape, okay? What we do here is so minute. But I see it just within our little tiny bubble, how that culture is so dangerous, and how your every waking move by people that enjoy you, that they say they're fans. Fan is short for fanatic, right? Every waking move, anything you do. I did the baking live last night. Screenshot. Like, really? I mean, I get it.
Well, it was funny.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? It's the same type of thing. It's like they're honed in on every nanosecond.
Yeah.
If I don't go,
and like it's like the game of telephone too.
All of it wrapped into one. Because if I don't go live, I think we've gotten a little bit better this past year with this. But, it would be like, oh, my God, where'd he go? And then, oh, my God, where'd he go turns into, oh, my God, why isn't he in the park? And, oh, my God, why isn't he in the park turns into, oh, my God, he got banned from the park.
Right.
That's telephone.
And then people speculate, like, why? And then somebody's like, well, I heard it from this person. And then it turns into something bigger. And, it's just a mess. Yeah.
But that's so social media in a celebrity obsessed culture gives the opportunity for anyone to be perceived as a celebrity to anyone else. It's like peer-to-peer fame, because now that one person latches onto you and they're obsessed. Right. I got people that have been watching me from day one. I don't even want them watching me anymore. I'm not supposed to say that.
What? Well, why do you say that?
Well, she co-hosts my podcast, and so it's kind of an awkward situation. Oh my God.
I'll just leave now. You want to talk to yourself?
I mean, I do that the other 3 shows. No,
I mean, you've had a lot of callers, which has been great.
Let me tell you something. The muscle that works to talk for that long, even with callers, but it's so much fun to do.
Well, you've been wanting to do this for so long, and you wanted something that was like just authentic and genuine. Like, how many times have you said on your live streams, like, I really want to say something right now, but I won't? And everybody's like, say it, like, that's what this has turned into.
Yeah, and I love that. And I mean, I've come a long way. I mean, I made that FU Disney video over the cookie stroll, which, by the way, people thought that the baking live last night was a response to the outrage over the $10 cookie. Those were separate ideas. And the baking idea happened because Shelly, who I used to call Chelly, because the CH is there, and that's how it sounds, she suggested it.
Oh, okay.
And this was the other day during like a 2X Live Fest thing. And I was like, well, if you hit the gift goal, I'll do it. Because, it's kind of fun to gamify things. It's stunts, but people seem to like it. And, hey, listen, I got to make a living. And if y'all expect me to keep doing this, I got to make a living. And if you want to hate on me making a living, that's fine. You're just hating on the fact that I have more fun making my living. But I still got to make a living. So I kind of like the gamifying stuff. And at this point in the game, anybody that wants to participate, anyone that's actually hanging around wants to be there, right? Especially when you take like 6 to 8 weeks off of live streaming or whatever it was. When you come back, you're not going to get the views you normally get. You're not going to get 4, 5, 6, 700 views at once, which is great. There's actually a logic there for me, and it works. So conventionally you would look at that and you go, oh my God, the numbers are down. That's a shame. And somebody came in and she goes, Royce, your numbers are so low. We got to share it out. I go, yeah, whatever. And she's like, no, Royce, that's not like you. You don't give up. But I'm like, I'm not giving up. This is quality over quantity,
Right.
So I've come to enjoy that, but I never thought I'd do a baking live. So then, meanwhile, I'm like, yeah, no big deal. Like, fine, I'll do this baking live. Be like 85 people watching, 250 some people watching.
It was entertainment for sure.
I mean, those are still like low numbers by any standard of me being in the park on any average day, but those are high numbers for me not being in a park.
Yeah, especially over like the last few weeks.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying, because when you take a break, the algorithm, look, the app literally has mechanisms in place, right? So it stops feeding me, right? So a lot of the traffic, the majority of the traffic I'm getting these last few weeks is driven from followers and not FYP. And I can actually see that.
TikTok is punishing you.
Right. No, they are. But I have analytics and I can see that.
Yeah.
I actually look at my analytics. Most of these nudniks don't even know where their analytics are, let alone look at them and understand them.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, speaking to that, my audience is like 70% female. Right? So I'm like, I'll do a baking live because they'll ridicule me. These women love to ridicule me. So let's go.
Well, it's easy. So,
but 250 people. I heard that loud and clear. That mic is fantastic. It came through.
Just a short plug for the mic.
Yeah, it's on my Amazon store. So Kensie gets
it was hilarious. Like, I actually took notes while I was watching it because I knew that we were going to talk about this. And I mean, I'm not like a huge baker, but like some rookie mistakes were made.
No, there were no mistakes. It was flawless execution. They're saying it was the greatest baking live in the history of TikTok.
Okay, the live itself, but like, look how your cookies turned out.
Well, but that's Angela's daughter's fault. Yeah, because I kept griping. I'm like, what do I do? Because I want the Jack Jack cookie to look like the Jack Jack cookie, Yeah. And I was like, and then I'm like, do I get a cupcake tray, but a cupcake is deeper than the Jack Jack cookie? I need like a wide and shallow cup. And then she was like, oh, here we go again. So I was like, fine. And people are like, just put them on a sheet pan, Royce, like a regular chocolate chip cookie. So then I was like, fine, I'll use my pizza tray and I'll only put a few spaced out so that they don't get mushed into each other. And then that happened anyway. So she set me up to fail, and I think she did it on purpose.
Well, to be fair, your dough is melting before you put it in the oven. You need to chill it before it goes in.
That was not in the instructions, Kenzie. You have to call 407-W-Disney and complain about the recipe.
That's the thing that's wild to me. Like, I will follow instructions, and like for a long time I was like, what am I doing wrong? And then I started watching videos during COVID, and obviously they go into more detail, but you're just like, that would have been nice to know, that sometimes you have to have your eggs at room temperature and sometimes you have to chill your dough before it goes in. Like, all the details that aren't in the recipe, and people are like, what did I do wrong? And you just sit there questioning everything.
Can we talk about how flawless my egg cracking skills are?
Oh yeah, the one-handed egg crack.
That was brilliant. You didn't like it?
Yeah, you look like a professional.
Wait a second. Are you telling me that didn't look good? That looked phenomenal.
Yeah, if that's what you want to pick out of that entire process, it looked great.
Well, wait, what are you trying to say? Are you saying it didn't look good, or are you saying it did look good? Because I hear what you're really saying. But let's just go micro for a second. You were impressed by the egg crack.
Yeah, I mean, that's a skill that a lot of people have, but,
Excuse me?
I mean,
can you
what
do
do
it?
you want me to
Can
say?
You do it?
Like, yeah, that was like such like a unique delivery of.
Can you crack an egg with one hand and get no shell in the bowl?
Yeah, of course.
All right, I want to see. Film it and text me the video.
I told you we need to do a cooking segment on this podcast.
All right, look. What else, do you have any? I want to move past this. What else do you want to say about that?
Oh my gosh! Okay, the Pam spray.
Right.
Like.
That was spite. That was like spray painting.
Yeah, no, it was completely I saw somebody that said, "Do you want some cookies with your Bam spray?"
I just did that to be funny at that point. You know?
I know, but like you had everything laid out on the pan, you sprinkled the chocolate chips on top, and then you finally saw the chat where everybody was in a manic response to you not spraying the pan.
Right.
And then you just scooped it all up.
Undo, delete. Yeah. Yeah, it was because I knew it would drive the chat crazy.
It did. It really did. I mean, you mission accomplished.
Thank
I
you.
think everybody was cringing.
Well, I mean, because look, I looked at it this way. There was all these people watching. And no matter what I was going to do, even if I did it correctly, nothing I did was going to be good enough. So much like playing video games, I just embrace the like worst case scenario, you know? So I just kind of play into it. And it's funny because I started the baking live like fully in that mode. And there was this one guy and he goes, are you, what did he say? We're not crabby. What did he ask me? He's like, are you cranky? And I'm like, you know what? This live might not be for you because I think you're missing out. Like, this is shtick. And like, I don't want to break the wall in the middle of the live and be like, yeah, I'm doing shtick. But like, I'm leaning into everything I'm doing, bro. If I really didn't want to be here, I wouldn't do it.
Well, where did that even stem from? Like,
was
it just the fact that you were baking, or was it like your?
Because I think I started the live. Yeah, it's like this delivery, right? It's East Coast delivery. He's probably some 16-year-old kid from Southern California who's like, "Hey, man, you know, like you got to be more loving." You know, like it's just like leave me alone. It's just it's just East Coast delivery. You know, it's just East. Yeah. It's like it's not where I'm from. Everything sounds like an argument. I could be telling you what to get from the grocery store, and it would be, what do you want to do for dinner? In my house growing up, sounds like an argument.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just how it is.
So I go live, and I'm very comfortable after almost 4 years of doing this, which is nuts that it's like 3.5 years into this.
Yeah.
And so I'm very comfortable at this point with those that want to hang. You know, they like to give me a hard time. I give them a hard time. I give Kels a hard time all the time because I know she gets it and it's funny. And I think it's funny when people don't get it. But then it turns out when somebody like that shows up who really doesn't get it, it's not funny. It's annoying.
Yeah, right. Because then they just start harassing you and you're like, I'm just trying to have fun here.
Are you cranky? No, I'm just, it's dry humor. This isn't for you.
Right.
Like, leave me alone.
Well, so now I have to ask the question that everybody's going to be thinking.
Yeah.
Are you going to do another baking live?
Yeah, I'll do it. I mean, look, what I'm trying to do, you know, we talked about pivoting, and I mean, personally, not even necessarily on the air. And I've been thinking about it for a long time. And I think part of the pivot, you know, I'm doing what I want to do here. And I think part of the pivot for me is actually just giving the audience what they want. So the people that are going to support you, you know, what do they like about that? They like the fact that, like, you know, I'm embracing the fact that this is going to be one big fumble and folly. That's the sort of the fun of it, right? Like, I'm laughing at myself. By the way, if those cookies really tasted bad, I would have immediately, like, I would have owned it in a heartbeat. Like, I took the first bite and I had just gotten the mint gum out of my mouth. So my first bite, I was like, oh no, these are funky. But then I was like, oh no, wait, that's the mint.
They looked funky.
No. They were just very, very chocolatey.
Yeah.
But there was no real, like, there was no issue, like, because it was just inundated with chocolate, right?
Yeah.
So it was just, I think if there was anything off with the, you know, with the mix, that chocolate was doing a good job of covering it because it was just inundated. But the pivot being, hey, we want to hang out with you. All right, well, you want to hang out with me. What do you want to do? You know, what experience are we going to have today? So I'll do it again. I thought
it was fun.
I was nervous, but not for the reasons you would think.
Oh, okay. I mean, I thought you'd just be nervous putting on blast for baking and just in general.
Kensie, I've done stand-up comedy. You think me standing in front of a bunch of married women that are looking for second screen entertainment to avoid their husbands, do you think that intimidates me?
Okay, so what made
I'm the
you nervous?
second screen. You understand? I was nobody's primary entertainment watching that last night. I was everybody was watching something, and then I was the other screen. I was nobody's primary entertainment, and if I was, that's on you. I'm just saying I recognize my place, right? That is what transpired last night is second screen entertainment, point blank period. You're sitting there on the couch, somebody's got the game on, or they're watching something else, and what are you doing? This guy on TikTok is doing some stupid crap. I'm just watching it because it's a train wreck. You know what I mean? So I'm cognizant
like my conversation with Brian.
But that's what it is. But guess what? I'm laughing to the bank. So,
yeah, right.
That's the job, right? The job is it's jackass. Heather made that analogy, right? So
yeah.
But where my nervousness came from was I don't like being that far away from the chat. My whole entire thing has been engaging with the chat from day one.
Yeah.
So I don't like the distance. And it took me a while with Fortnite and the monitors and all of that to get used to that. Mm-hmm. So I don't like the cameras on the other side of the counter. So I think my nervousness was more of like trying to keep all the plates spinning at once. But then at a certain point I got comfortable and you just get into a groove and then you're like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that because like you said, you're always connected with the chat and, you don't use moderators either. So it's like, nope. what's spiraling in my comments right now?
Yeah, well, and then I move over to the table and I'm like, there was a time where I'm like, I wouldn't have even felt like I could just sit there and talk to people.
Yeah.
And people want to hang and they want to talk. So to answer your question about, will I do it again? Yes, because it's feeding the evolution. And I'm not saying it's turning into a cooking channel. I'm not saying it's turning into a Larry King channel. That's just a funny joke to me, obviously. But I enjoy like letting loose with everybody and just like being my full self. And those that want to hang and just be silly will be silly.
Did you know that there are Disney parks cookbooks?
Yes. Yeah, I know. So we could definitely get there.
I feel like you have to do that.
All right, great. Let's make some Ronto wraps. I said in the Discord, I go, because somebody brought that up, I go, I made Dole Whip, and Kells was like, good job. I was like, did you not watch the baking live? Do you not realize that was an accomplishment in many ways for me?
Did you make the Dole Whip successfully?
I did. It's a non-dairy product, by the way. I bet you didn't know that.
I did know that.
Oh. I got
it's
to go.
Right?
I'm supposed to do ads.
Do ads.
I know, but I'm
do you need a second?
No. It just occurred to me. I was like, something's missing here.
Yeah.
Kensie.
Yes.
Are you ready to spice up your kitchen this holiday season? Pampered Chef has all the goodies from spatulas and mandolins to amazing pots and pans and knives. Knives, Kensie. Plus, don't miss out on small appliances like the deluxe air fryer and the coffee maker to make your holiday cooking a breeze. Reach out to Colleen Herman, pamperedchef.com/PWS/Colleen Herman. Are you on vacation and the unthinkable happens? Have you been injured in an accident? Don't wait. Get the help you deserve when you need it the most at the law offices of Nicole M. Kennedy. Nicole M. Kennedy fights for your rights and works tirelessly to get you the compensation you deserve. She's there to guide you through every step. So call now 305-213-5438 for a free consultation. You don't pay unless they win. The law offices of Nicole M. Kennedy, 305-213-5438. Last minute shipping from the parks. My friends at the UPS store, Kensie, they are so helpful. They will pack up a lightsaber and make sure it gets to its final destination. And many times before you do, but that's less a comment on them and more a comment on the airlines. So go visit my friends at 6526 Old Brick Road behind the Magic Kingdom. That's what happens when you don't give me ad copy and I get to improvise. Tell them Joe Coconut sent you. They don't even know who he is. Anyway, go reach out to William.Bailey if you want to book your travel William is not only a fantastic travel agent, but he is the best when it comes to competitive rates and destination planning. William provides a customizable experience. Check out William.bailey Travel. You can go to my website, fill out the travel form at royces.com, or email William.bailey at academytravel.com, William.bailey at academytravel.com. Now, Kensie, you know, you're embarking on this next chapter in your life, and sometimes as we build our future, we spend so much time worrying about our life and the moment that we often forget to plan for the life for those we're going to leave behind. So what I would say to you, Kensie, is with no estate plan, you could be leaving those you love with high taxes and probate fees, not to mention an incomplete or divided estate. You need a will or a trust. Contact Russell at RK Law. If you live in Florida, Russell at RK Law to make your appointment today and safeguard the future of those you love. Russell at rklawpro.com. Russell at rklawpro.com. How is that for integrated advertising?
I still think it's so fun.
Do you know I could have just pre-recorded those once?
Well, I don't know. Do you read from like a script? Obviously, you don't have that whole thing memorized.
No, I'm reading from a script, but then I'm making stuff up as I go just to keep it fresh.
Yeah. like the last show when you're like, don't contact Kensie. Just don't.
Oh, did I say that? Oh, oops.
Well, yeah, no, I think it was for William.bailey's travel agency. And you're like, Kensie's been all around the world. Like, ask her. Actually, don't ask her.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, no, I like doing it. If you did pre-record, it would be kind of lame. And I think, you know, if people are going to spend the money to advertise with you, I don't mind putting in the hard work to do the live read. It makes it feel like radio.
Yeah. No, I think it's fun. And, you know, now we got these mics. We're
I know. Well, I'm not using the new mic here. So that mic for me is going to be actually part of my downstairs gaming setup.
Oh, okay.
Which I may actually do a podcast from down there, just to trial it at some point. But the reason I did that is when I travel, I don't want to miss. So I want to have a mic and a little tiny mixer I can throw in a backpack with my laptop and still do what I'm doing. So I could still take phone calls. I could still be live on TikTok. I could still be live on YouTube if I want to. I could still record on multiple cameras. And then have a little Bluetooth setup to take phone calls and have a nice little mic to take with me.
Yeah, I mean, this mic is awesome. I mean, I've done radio in the past and I've been in studios, but having like my own setup at home now is super fun.
Now, are you using just the USB-C cable?
I think it's just USB-C on one end, USB on the other.
Right, so it's all lit up.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
Colorful
but you can also use that with the XLR jack. If you look underneath it, there's an XLR jack. The 3-pin.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so that's like for a big boy mic. when you grow up.
I feel like I need like the hanging piece, you know, so I can like pull the mic down and.
Well, that's what I'm using right now.
Oh, okay.
So the mic that well, wait a second. Can you actually, because not that they're going to see what I'm about to do, but I could just show you. Like, do you see that?
Oh, yeah. Look at that setup.
Yeah, isn't that fancy? Now, what you don't see is instead of that hanging from like the ceiling, that's just on like a giant like industrial tripod.
Right.
So, no, it is, but it's just easier that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that setup, like that's a pro mic. And then.
Oh, I see.
And then I'm gonna break everything. You see the mixer down there?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Oh my god, the whole show's gonna it's over. Goodbye. Thank you to our sponsors.
I will say my favorite part of radio, like when I was in college, I had a show with some friends, and our station had. I mean, I know that like every professional radio station had this, but we had a dump mic or a dump button. You know, so if you like cuss, then it cuts out like 7 seconds.
That's funny. There's a very famous sports announcer that used to do that. And I think Norm Macdonald used to tell the stories that he'd be sitting in the booth with him and he'd be calling a play And in the middle of the play, he'd like hit the mute, like they call it like a cough button.
Yeah.
So he would hit it, turn to the guys next to him, like say something really, really like offensive, like rattle off a bunch of expletives in the middle of saying the play, right?
Yeah.
And then go back to the play. And so like I think Artie Lang and Norm Macdonald would tell this story. And yeah, and I can't remember the announcer's name right now. And I think I know it, but I don't know sports that well, so I don't really want to say it and then be wrong because I give this audience enough to give me a hard time about. But it was like flawless precision, right? So you'd be like, oh, here he comes, mute. And then he'd come right back. And like, you're like, dude, if you just slipped on that button, you'd be dropping F-bombs over like a live sports broadcast.
Have you ever heard of Tom Brenneman?
No.
He was an announcer for the Cincinnati Reds, and in 2020, he thought he was off air during a commercial, and they came back, and he had like a gay slur during the game, and it canceled him completely. Like he was done.
Oh wow. Okay. So
Yeah.
I looked it up. It was Bob Uecker.
Okay.
Bob Uecker. I was going to say that, but I didn't. So I just Googled it as you were saying. But yeah, no, but that's what we're talking about. That'll get you canceled because there's advertisers there.
Yeah.
If you slip up,
I mean, he said something pretty terrible too.
Yeah, I understand
so
that. But,
like,
but if you slip up and say something pretty terrible on a live stream on TikTok,
yeah,
unless you directly upset your audience, do you know what I mean? There's no advertiser that's leveraged there.
Right.
And that is what the cancel culture was. The cancel culture is like an extension of boycotting. And it's like, oh,
yeah.
All right, well, we don't like you, and you've got to deal with this big brand, so now we're going to tell this big brand they shouldn't be in business with you. Even if we're wrong, we're loud. And now, boom.
It's very powerful.
Very powerful. But in a direct consumer environment, if people are with you, I mean, I'm not saying they're going to be with you unequivocally, but if people are like with you and you're speaking truth, then you're good.
Yeah.
But in a ad-driven, an advertiser-driven media landscape, you can't speak truth. And if people get upset about it, they'll cancel you. But in this format, I could tell you that the guy running DC Comics right now should be in jail.
Oh.
Of course he should be. He should be in a prison, not a jail. Because he's a creep. Okay?
Yeah.
I've talked about it before. I'm not going to get into it right now, but I'm just simply saying that like I couldn't say that on CNN. Okay? And I'm
absolutely not.
And I'm careful about how I'm saying it, but I've also seen things, so it's not conjecture, it's not hearsay. I've got firsthand accounts. Okay? So you talk about these people, okay, whether you like their stance or not, but you talk about these alternative media people, the podcast culture of it all. A lot of these guys are like Twitch streamers and gamers, right? They just sit around. They're not even really gaming. They're just sitting there talking all day long. But they have massive audiences, and they have massive influence. And it's like destroyed the media landscape, you know, much in the way that I remember Napster destroying music, like podcasting, and particularly podcasting, because podcasting has had a couple different phases, but this last sort of boom of podcasting has really, combined with social media, has really put a death nail in legacy media. You can't compete with Twitter, whether you like it or not, Kensie.
Yeah, no.
That was a no. You don't like Twitter. That was a no to that.
I mean, I don't like Twitter because who runs Twitter?
You have to separate that, though, Kens. You can't be that kind of...
I can't.
You must.
I can't. It's like Donald Trump's privileges were taken away on Twitter, and then all of a sudden Elon Musk, you know, takes it over, and his privileges are
yeah, well, he gave him how much? First of all, here's what's fascinating to me about that. If I was running a news network and gave one person that much free media, you would have a problem with it. Basically, Elon Musk gave Donald Trump a ton of free media via Twitter.
Yeah.
That's a new era that we're in. You can't even say he did something wrong because there's no safeguards for that. But what he did inadvertently by buying Twitter was create a town square that would inevitably benefit one candidate more than the other. And if you were doing, and now you could be like, well, look at MSNBC, look at Fox News. Yeah, sure. But in theory, there's guardrails there, right? Even though they're all BS. But what fascinates me about Elon and Twitter, and I don't like Elon Musk at all. Okay, and I have a love-hate relationship with Twitter, but I recognize its value because of its speed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair. I still go to it for let's say that there's. Well, I'll give an example. I was downtown in Cincinnati a couple weeks ago, and there were these military helicopters that flew by, and I was like, "What in the world is that?" I just ran to Twitter, and I'm not going to call it X. I ran to Twitter, and I got my answer immediately. But I was just like,
now, do you do that using the search and the recent?
Yeah, like the most recent comments.
Yeah, I would type in Cincinnati
tweets.
Helicopter and then go to recent and see the newest thing posted.
Yeah, I mean, you can't find that anywhere else.
No, and that's a huge value.
Right.
Taking the presidential politics out of it, owning that, Elon Musk owning that, that's a huge value for his businesses.
There's value in it, but there's also a lot of risk and danger because there's a lot of misuse of Twitter with the media. That's how rumors get started.
Yeah, but it's no better or worse. I mean, honestly, I'll read things on Twitter, and if there's something that moves the needle for me in either direction,
yeah,
and I might not be like most people, but I will go research it even for just a minute. So I saw something the other day. It was actually pertaining to cryptocurrency. And it was like, oh, as you can see, these trend lines are adhering to the cup and handle method, as in a saucer cup and handle.
Okay. Yeah.
And somebody put it on Twitter, and I was like, I looked at that, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Who knew that was a thing? And then I thought, maybe that's not a thing. Maybe somebody just made that up because it sounds silly. It does kind of sound silly. So then I went off of Twitter and I went to Google and I found on several different financial sites that those identifiers, the cup and handle method or whatever it's called. I was like, oh, who knew? But I didn't just take it for what it was on Twitter. If you did that with everything on Twitter, you'd be a moron.
Right.
I see your point.
I'm like, yes, and
yeah, no, I see your point. But that's just me, right? So you read. Oh, here was another one. Somebody made a comment on a post on Twitter that JonBenét Ramsey's father,
yep,
dated Natalie Holloway's mother.
Who?
Natalie Holloway, the girl that was murdered in Aruba.
Oh, geez. What?
Yeah. And JonBenét, you know that she was the girl that was murdered, the 6-year-old little whatever beauty.
Royce, I listened to the Crime Junkie 3.5-hour podcast and watched the Netflix documentary series all within the last 5 days.
Yeah, so
I know plenty of the JonBenét Ramsey.
That story has come back up to the top. I mean, that story's been around forever. That's old as day.
Well, it's because the father is now doing interviews with all of these media outlets.
But it's because Netflix does the documentary, but the podcast culture, by the way, feeds that because now somebody does an in-depth podcast, then Netflix does a doc, and
yeah, I mean it's wild, and maybe this is a conversation for another time, but it was crazy listening to the podcast and then watching the Netflix documentary because they both had like different, they had the same information, but a different way of like presenting it in different perspectives that made me like sway one way or over the other. Like I was like convinced in one format, and then the other one I was like, oh, now I'm not, and I'm leaning another way. It was really bizarre.
Well, but
like
there's
that's how the media is.
I haven't watched any of the stuff you're talking about because unlike you, I was alive when it happened.
I was alive.
Oh, please. What are you?
I was
2,
4.
4? How old were you?
I was 4.
I was right. You're 4. Yeah, no, I was like probably like in middle school or something.
Yeah.
It all happened very fast, and there weren't footprints in the snow, and the media.
Wait. Now you have to watch the Netflix documentary.
I don't even have Netflix.
They address that. They address the footprints in the snow. There was no snow.
Well, but okay. So the point that I was going to say next was
we're gonna solve the crime right now.
The media vilified the family so fast, and the information went flying out of that. The media was so irresponsible in that case.
Well, and that's why you have to watch it, because they have the journalist on there that misrepresented the family. Like he spoke out on. He's like, oh, well, I heard from a very trusted source. And I'm like, who?
Well, listen,
who's your trusted source?
I think one of two things happened there. And I think the more than likely outcome is that it was that somebody killed that child because of what the parents were up to. Because the parents were heavily involved in the community, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that went down. But it's either that or there was an accident and then a series of bad decisions. There's only two options.
And you couldn't get your way out of that.
What do you mean?
Once you're making a statement, you have to stand by it. Otherwise, you lose all of your credibility.
You talking about the reporter?
Yeah.
Well, no, but I'm saying, as I recall at the time, everybody thought the parents did it. And the only way I think the parents may have done it is if they were doubling down on something. There might have been an accident, God forbid, and then a series of bad decisions. I don't think they openly murdered their child. I don't think it was a premeditated murder. Could have been an accident. I think more than likely somebody else killed that child.
On accident.
No, on purpose. Because the parents were up to all sorts of stuff. I don't remember all the details off the top of my head. I just know that the father was involved in a lot of stuff. Was he in pharmaceuticals or something? What was he involved in?
Yeah, he was with some company, but he lived in Boulder, Colorado, which everybody out there makes millions.
Yeah, and there's also that's like a whole different level of crime.
Yeah,
people get offed.
Yeah. Well, it's a really weird scenario. And this one podcast I listened to got into it, saying that there's 2 different types of people it could have been. It could have been a pedophile, or it could have been somebody that was out to get JonBenét or John Ramsey.
Correct.
Because they specifically had a ransom note against him. They asked for money that was completely on the nail with the bonus he got that year.
Right.
But there were some very vulgar things that happened to her prior to her death. So, I mean, obviously, who knows what parents are capable of when that kinds of stuff happen, but...
And there's also something to be said for I mean, who does that to their child?
I know.
Not
I mean,
the
we'll
crime.
never understand the minds of people like this, but the thing that I took away from both of those different episodes was none of the DNA comes back to the family. There is DNA on her and the weapons that were utilized, and none of it matches the family. So,
I mean, that almost tells you everything you need to know.
Well, it does and it doesn't, because...
Well, it doesn't tell you motive.
No, there's people that are questioning the DNA and saying that it could be problematic. And it's like, oh my gosh.
Well, people were let in and out of that crime scene right away. That crime scene was like a traffic scene. I mean, it was
Yeah.
not locked down.
Oh yeah, the retired Boulder PD that was heading the case came out and said that was my mistake because we assumed it was a kidnapping ransom case and it ended up being a murder. You know, like they didn't know that. They had all these people like coming in and out of the house. They had like breakfast set up on the table and
It's nuts.
It was completely contaminated.
But what kind of person like over sexualizes their child by putting them in beauty pageants and dressing them up like that with hair and makeup?
Well, so that's so funny you bring that up because I grew up competitively dancing. I had the hair, I had the makeup, you know.
That's different.
And the little outfits and stuff. So, I mean, is it though? Like,
well, okay. First of all, I'm very familiar with the world of dance, and
okay,
I'm sure it has all the same problems. You laugh, but I'm sure it has all the same problems. Okay, and I know it does. But what I would say is, you actually have to develop, like, you have to learn your routine and your choreography, and actually develop a skill set.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like from the objectification side of things, it's absolutely problematic, the over-sexualization, because at a very young age, dance is that way, opera is that way. Opera's the worst, okay? But, yeah, dance is just like from the optics of, yeah, we're putting out these girls in these outfits and putting them in hair. Yes, but what I would say is, like, at least you're developing a skill. But it doesn't demean what you probably go through in terms of harassment and objectification.
Well, and they came out and said that the photographer of her pageants was a pedophile. Like
I'm sure that whole culture has got to be that way.
I was like, oh my God, I never want a daughter.
Listen, I went to theater arts camp, okay?
You did?
You don't know this?
No.
Why do you think I know stuff about, like, dance and theater? First of all, almost every girl I ever dated was a dancer, okay? So, like, in college, I remember, like, I would, like, not film, but I would, like, video the dances. I'd have, like, 3 cameras up and a video mixer and cameramen. And I would do live video mixes of the dances. So I would go to dress rehearsal. I would, understand the general, choreography and the blocking, the staging, so that I could produce these videos. So that's how I know about my pas de bourrées and my pirouettes. Okay. And
I'm impressed.
Thank you. And I'm not too bad at either. And I'm better at those than baking.
Wait.
I could do a nice pas de bourrée. Thank you. I really can't.
We don't need a baking live. We need.
You want me to do pirouettes? What about a live where I do pirouettes and bake pirouettes?
Oh my! I almost want like a reenactment of the Nutcracker with the holiday seasons coming around the corner.
All right, I'll do that when you sing Wicked. Anyway,
Nutcracker and Christmas cookies.
Anyway, so at least to me, it, like with dance, yes, I hear you on that side of things for sure. But at least there's a skill in there. Like beauty pageants is just, you're literally just trotting around bodies.
Yeah.
And so the story I'll tell you really quick, and then I do want to get to something else that you wanted to talk about because I love this stuff.
Okay.
But I went to theater arts camp, and it was an overnight camp. So I was 12, 13 years old, and there was a theater director that everybody loved. And every evening when we were all hanging out in our bunks, we would be like, everyone would be in their bed, like doing whatever they were doing, and just hanging out bullshitting,
Mm-hmm.
And he would come in, grown man, maybe in his 30s, maybe even a little bit younger. And he would go sit on the top bunk bed with this kid who was my age. Mm-hmm. And he would just sit there and he would run his hand through his hair.
Okay.
And just like run his fingers through this kid's curls.
Huh.
And it was super creepy and nobody would say anything. So I'm going to say the next year, if not 2 camp seasons later, but maybe the next season, It could have even been later that summer. He must have done something to one of the guys, the young boys that worked in the camp office.
No.
And he got fired.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget being upset that he got fired and not understanding what had happened in the moment. And
how could you? Yeah.
Walked into the dining hall and I saw a buddy of mine and I was like, oh my God, so-and-so got fired. And one of this guy's buddies overheard me, and I'm a kid. The next thing you know, I'm surrounded by 4 or 5 grown men, all of whom I respected greatly. Mm-hmm. And I was bullied to not talk about what I knew.
Oh,
that you don't know the truth. Keep your mouth shut. You don't know what, and like they were all protecting their friend. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I wasn't sure what was really going on in the moment. Right. And the guy was a director at the camp, and I'll never forget getting a random Christmas card at my home address from him. How he got my home address, I don't know.
Well, that's creepy.
And it was like, from your favorite director, blah, blah, blah. And I was exposed to all of this by somebody who was respected and trusted, and I had a lot of questions. And there was an individual. This is about to come full circle. You ready for this?
Yeah, let's hear it.
There was an individual there at the time who I was good friends with, who was older than me and younger than them. Okay. And he was outraged at the time at this stuff. Okay. And it always kind of rubbed me the wrong way because I didn't buy it, but we were friends. When he moved to LA, he became buddies with that executive who's running DC. He only got to know him loosely through another mutual friend. And they would go to parties dressed up as pedophiles and children.
Oh, what?
So this guy that I'll never forget being outraged at the behavior of somebody else, okay, who I thought actually might have been a decent human being, turned out, nope, when it comes down to it, if I want access, these are the type of people I'll surround myself with. These are the types of actions that I will partake in. And that's what they would do. And they would dress up. And this guy's now making a Superman movie. Okay. And they would dress up. It was a priest and pedophile party. So it was, you either dressed up as priests or you dressed up as children. I shouldn't say priest or pedophile, but you know what I mean. It was pedophile priest. So you dressed up as the child or you dressed up as the priest. And he came to me and he goes, Royce, you got to look at these photos. Look at this party I went to, blah, 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 blah. And I looked at him and go, you're sick. Like, you dressed up as a child.
So messed up.
In suspenders with a little propeller hat on. I'm like, this is sick.
Yeah. Ew.
That's James Gunn. That is this current co-CEO of Warner Brothers through these parties. And he directed Guardians of the Galaxy. And Disney fired him for old tweets. Everything goes right back to this conversation we're having, Kensie. And they fired him over his tweets, and then they rehired him.
Oh, that's sick.
But people out on Twitter say they accuse him of these parties, but nobody knows for sure. I think once I saw one of the photos on Twitter. I don't know how it made it out on Twitter, but I've seen multiple photos on somebody's cell phone who went to the parties, who worked with James, who worked with another individual who we all grew up with, who's up James's tookus because he's so desperate for a career, but he won't have one because James only takes care of whomever, like everyone else in LA. You know, what have you done for me lately? All right. Yeah. And now what you have, and I'm just being real with y'all, you got a pedophile running DC Comics.
Ew.
I didn't expect to say this today, but it's just the truth. And by the way, you can say, well, is he really a pedophile? Because he only had the parties. Sorry, if it walks like a duck. And by the way, and they hung out with a band. He's buddies with this band, and they're all self-proclaimed pedophiles.
Ugh.
Disgusting.
Yeah, that's filthy.
Like disgusting. So yeah, you talk about like what kind of person like puts their child in an environment like a beauty pageant when they're 6 years old, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And what scares me is it's not even like that's not even seen as problematic.
Yeah, I mean, it's all the people behind the scenes that you don't even think about being these creepy pedophiles. Like
I'm telling you about people that I respected growing up. I mean, this guy gets fired for an act of pedophilia, okay, for touching another guy, another kid, not another kid, a kid. All right. And then all of his buddies, like a gang, are out there to protect his actions.
Well, look at Dan Schneider.
Well, but Dan Schneider got away with it because he made a ton of money for Nickelodeon. Look at Amanda Bynes.
That's what I mean, though. Like, this guy got rehired, and now he's, doing whatever he's doing. But it's like,
yeah, okay. So
all these people are getting away with it because the drama died down.
So another one. So if you really want to go back, and again, we did not plan to talk about this, so maybe I'll try to get this out, and then I want to talk to you a little bit about the college football fight. So don't let me forget.
Yep.
But there was a company back in, I want to say the late 80s, early 90s, Digital Entertainment Network. I think it was called Den. And it was started by a bunch of pedophiles. And one of the guys involved was Bryan Singer, who went on to direct the X-Men movie, very famous movie director. But Bryan Singer is a full-fledged pedophile. And there's been cases over it with the movie At Pupil, and I know somebody who was being groomed by Bryan's co-producer from The Usual Suspects, because I was in LA, right? So this guy down the hall is like, "Oh, I'm hanging out with so-and-so." I'm like, "Really? Okay." And anyway, so Bryan Singer was tied up with all of these people, and Bryan Singer used to have these crazy parties. Like, they're talking about P. Diddy. Bryan Singer used to have these crazy parties and find young male wannabe actors and chew them up and spit them out. I mean, it's all factual, by the way. I'm not saying anything that's not fully documented. You can go look it up. And he still works today. He was marginally ostracized at one point. I think they took him off of the X-Men movie. But Bryan Singer, I mean, he got away with it all because it's industry standard. Everything that Bill Cosby did, everybody saw. And Bill Cosby got away with it from the Cosby era and on. I mean, I'm sure it started pre that. But I heard from a woman who produced the show what he used to do to the female production assistants on the Cosby Show. And this woman won an Oscar. And she's a self-proclaimed feminist. And she turned a blind eye to Cosby raping people on the Cosby Show. And she bragged about it over lunch one day.
Jeez.
So, I don't know how you got me on this rant. But, look.
Pedophiles, I don't know.
Yeah, because it's disgusting, and there's no wiggle room for that.
No.
There's no, it's just, so when I look at something like that JonBenét Ramsey case, and this whole thing went back to me talking about the parents, and something I didn't believe on Twitter. But when I look at the JonBenét Ramsey thing, irrespective of who killed that child, the sad reality is her parents sealed that poor kid's fate the day they entered her into that world.
Yeah.
There's no positive side to a world of children's beauty pageants. You cannot convince me that there is an upside to that world. That is a world filled with just bad, deviant people. The kind of people we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean,
by the way,
it's
Superman
like
coming out next summer.
Too.
I'm just
What's
kidding.
that?
But I said, by the way, Superman coming out next summer.
Everybody go see it.
But you want to know what's really messed up about that? As I say that, Kensie, we just have these conversations and everything ties together. I just mentioned Bryan Singer. He directed Superman. He was the one that did Superman Returns.
Oh my.
So there's a recurring theme there in choice of director.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that.
That's wild. Well, the more you know.
It's absolutely disgusting stuff. And all of that stemmed from me saying that I was reading on Twitter that Natalie Holloway's mom dated JonBenét Ramsey's father, John Ramsey. And you would go, what a coincidence. How does that happen? That's so weird. And then you're like, no, that makes perfect sense. Because they wind up in the same circles, and then it's like a puzzle. They fit for a moment. They fit together, and they probably helped each other grieve.
Mm-hmm.
And then that probably didn't work out. They were probably in different places. At least that's what I read in terms of their grieving. But I didn't believe it when I read it on Twitter because it sounded like clickbait. So I researched it, and now we spent 40 minutes talking about it.
It was productive. It's fine.
But I used to love all that true crime stuff.
I eat it up. I knew about the JonBenét Ramsey case, but not to that extent. Like, my uncle lives in Boulder. I've driven by the house a bunch of times. It's just fascinating.
Did you ever used to watch on was it on like CNBC or something, the Keith Morrison stuff?
No.
Keith Morrison, who inadvertently was Matthew Perry's stepfather, but Keith Morrison would do the NBC murder things, and like his intros would always rhyme. It was very like Dr. Seuss. He'd be like, "Susie was a homemaker," you know, like What I'm talking about?
Yeah. Well, it's not the Dateline stuff, is it?
I don't know if it's like kind of like Dateline, but like he would do like these like. I don't know, but look up Keith Morrison. You know exactly what I'm talking about. But he'd be like,
yeah, I did. And then I was like, oh, I know who that is.
But he'd be like, Susie was a homemaker. Susie was sad, but before she knew it, Susie would be dead. And you're like, oh, like, is this a murder mystery or is this Dr. Seuss?
It all rhymed.
Yeah, no, but for real, go listen to Keith Morrison. He'd be like, Bobby was a teacher. Bobby was good. The next thing you know, Bobby went hood. And you'd be like, whoa, what? What am I watching?
She did not like green eggs and ham.
No, Sam I am. Sam is dead. and I'm like, for real.
Oh, gosh. I mean, he was probably one of the first people to report out on true crime, though, right?
Yeah, but Andrew Dice Clay did the same thing in comedy and made a full career. They're nursery rhymes. Andrew Dice Clay was like, hickory dickory. I can't even do that one. You don't even know who Andrew Dice Clay is. That's what scares me greatly.
I had to Google him.
Well, you're fast in the Google.
I have my computer pulled up for this stuff.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
I'm like, yeah, I know who that is. Like, let me Google it.
You're like index fingers hovering over like the first letter of whatever word I'm saying. You're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
All right. So because we're talking about Twitter, and because I admittedly, even though I don't like Elon Musk and I don't really care for Twitter, I do enjoy using Twitter as a news tool.
Yes, especially for sports.
Right. And that's got to be the only place where using that recent search function where you can really stay on top of sports. Right? Mm-hmm. So I always see like crazy clips and stuff like this. And by the way, I don't watch any of this stuff. That's the only reason I knew when you brought up the fight to me. I'm like, because I saw it on my timeline. I don't know how it started.
Yeah. Well, which one are you talking about?
All of them.
It's actually crazy. There were two massive fights that broke out after a couple college football games. And I mean, I've been a college football fan my whole life, but being from Michigan, it's like a holiday to watch the Michigan-Ohio State game. And I mean, everybody thought it was going to be a blowout. Ohio State's number 2 in the country. Michigan's had a poor season. I think they were like 6-5 or 7-5 or something yesterday going into the game. And it was a really close game. They ended up winning, like Michigan won 13-10. But right after the game ended, one of the players brought out the Michigan flag, and you knew what he was going to do. But it just broke out, and there were like probably 15 different fights that broke out. And I think it, it all stemmed from that player walking out with the flag, but it's already been a nasty rivalry as it is. And it got to the point where players started to get pepper sprayed by the cops.
Okay, that's
Pepper
the part.
sprayed.
Has that been confirmed? Because as of yesterday,
Yes.
that was still speculation.
Yes, it's been confirmed. I've seen clips of different people that were on the field, whether they were like photographers or people from the media. I mean, you saw guys in tears, like rubbing their eyes and then running off the field. Like it was definitely confirmed that people were pepper sprayed.
Sure, they weren't just sore losers.
It was the winning team.
Oh, well, maybe they're sore winners. I don't. So because I heard that, like, first of all, how is that not a huge issue?
Yeah, well, it happened with Florida State and University of Florida too. I don't know if the pepper spray came out, but they had a huge brawl on the field after too.
But who pepper sprayed them? Was it university police or was it actual police?
Actually, I don't know that, but
see, I mean, that's my.
Regardless, that's a huge problem.
But that's a huge problem. But I mean, if it's the actual police, that might be a different story than if it's like university cops,
Mm-hmm.
who aren't really cops, right?
I don't know.
But that's a huge issue. How is there no blowback for that?
I'm sure they're still investigating all of it.
Yeah, it's a fresh story. I mean,
it just happened.
But so the fight was because the guy came out with the flag to gloat on, like to mark his territory, like we own this field now.
Yep. Yeah.
Kind of like a we landed on the moon moment.
Pretty much. And it's, I mean, I am not a Michigan fan at all, even though I'm from Michigan. I'm a Notre Dame fan, which they're having a great season, by the way, if you wanted to know. But Michigan, I'm just like, I don't expect anything less from Michigan or Ohio State. This rivalry is nasty. It's always been nasty. It was bound to happen. I don't know who's at fault here for how the fight started. I thought it was the Michigan player coming out, but there, like I said, there were 15 different fights that just all popped up at the same time, and it was wild. It was a wild day for college football.
I have a sports question for you.
Okay.
You're not going to like it.
Oh boy.
So, another women's team forfeited the other day over this whole transgender issue.
Oh.
Have you heard about this?
No.
You'd have to look it up because I don't even have enough information to go without a little backup, but I think it was it basketball?
Looks like it was volleyball.
Was it volleyball? Okay. I knew there was a ball involved, like most sports. It wasn't hockey. I know that much. And,
that's a puck.
So I know that. Unless it's street hockey, they have a ball, but I still like the puck. So I did play a lot of street hockey growing up. So for 3 years, this individual had been competing. I guess somebody online picked up that they were transgender.
Okay.
And now all of these teams are refusing to compete and are even sacrificing, their postseason, from what I'm reading or hearing, to stand up for this. And and then people go, well, listen, it's you get hurt because if it's a man playing as a woman and all these issues. And you want to know what I say? But I want to know what you say first, and then I'll tell you what I say. But I'm curious your take on all this.
I think that's disgusting. I think I kind of understand because people are like, well, trans people don't have the same, whether it's a woman that's trans doesn't have has a bunch of extra testosterone, and I don't know. I don't want to get too far into it and say how I feel, but I think at the end of the day, I don't think somebody's going to put themselves through there's a lot of flack that comes with people transitioning because of our society. I don't think people are going to put themselves through all of that just to win a game.
Well, so my thing is, first of all, it wasn't an issue until somebody made it an issue, which means it's not an issue. Okay, number one.
Right.
All right. And even if it is an issue, because like I was listening to, I think it was Smearkanish again, because I like to listen, I wake up, Kensie, I make my bagel, I put a little schmear on, I listen to Smearkanish, and, this is what I do.
Gosh.
So, but I understand the idea of standing up for whatever you think you need to stand up for. Mm-hmm. Okay. But I started to listen to them talking about like, well, they did a study and they compared this one to this one and it showed that this gender and this gender didn't have, and I was like, the amount of time and studies being spent on athletics, and I'm not an athlete. Mm-hmm. I'm not an athlete. All right. By the way, good Grease reference. If you can't be an athlete, be an athletic supporter.
Be an athletic supporter.
Right. Okay. So everything comes full circle here. We're pros. I just think we spend too much time on sports. That's my takeaway. Like, if you are so hung up that you're doing studies on gender, and like, who cares about sports this much? Can we not focus on some real issues? Who wins a game isn't going to have any bearing on the quality of my living. It's all entertainment. Okay? So whether somebody can get hurt or not, I don't even really care. Okay? Because at the end of the day, if you don't want to play, don't play.
It's targeting against the trans community. They want a reason
nobody cares
to get them out of there.
But the people that are targeting don't even care about that issue. They're just leveraging the issue to get attention. I don't care what people do privately. Okay? And as far as like transgender goes, that is such a small percentage of the population of people, and the whether you agree with it or not, it's not really relevant to what others do with their body. So you can understand it and still disagree with it. But all of this time and energy spent on the plight of a small group of folks is what bothers me. And when it gets lost inside of sports, I'm like, this isn't about transgender anymore. This is about sports. And the problem I have is when I was in high school, okay, our television production department didn't have good equipment, okay? But the football team had top of the line cameras and VCRs so they could watch playback of their games.
Of course.
Okay, but all the kids that we were trying to teach to be broadcast journalists didn't have any equipment, okay, any cutting edge equipment to use, because all the money went to give the good video equipment to the football players who were playing high school football. And now you want to know why journalism is dead.
Yep.
So that's my real gripe. I don't care if you have two penises. I don't care.
Right.
I don't. Keep them both away from me. I just don't care. All right. What I'm simply saying is we have such an infatuation with sports in our culture to a detriment. Mm-hmm. I don't even care. If you just don't play. Nobody play. Everybody go home.
Yeah.
I don't like sports because it constantly takes away from arts, and it takes away from science and tech. All right. When you talk about educational funding, I always resented the fact that our theater department had jack squat, but these kids playing football, okay, had all the money in the world for uniforms and helmets. And let me tell you something. I grew up with these kids. The helmets weren't protecting anything, okay?
Oh, yeah.
All right. I went to Council Rock High School in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. The helmets weren't protecting anything.
Yeah. It's bringing out the worst in people, and that's kind of what I was trying to get at, with this whole thing. It's just like, why would somebody put themselves through all of this criticism and attention? Somebody
will, but that's the problem. Somebody would
just to play a game, though. Like
somebody would.
That's absurd to me.
No, because what the problem with what you just said is you're using logic. Okay, there's somebody out there that is so thirsty for attention that they will literally go through whatever it takes to get attention. whether it's cosmetic surgery, whether it's gender re-identification, whatever, I don't know what the term is, but like, it doesn't even have to be surgery we're talking about. People will go through great leaps and bounds for attention. Mm-hmm. Look at the people. When this Disney live streaming thing on TikTok took off, which is amazing because it was on YouTube forever, but the TikTok trend was its own kind of thing. Look how many people who have basically given up all of their financial freedom, okay, in the pursuit of attention. How many people have traveled here to try to do it, okay, without success because they're desperate for attention. They're burning money. And I didn't believe it until people started showing it to me. I couldn't buy into the idea that people are that hungry for attention. I'm the opposite. Yeah, everybody loves a little attention, but I'm like, too much attention. Like yesterday, 250 people watching me bake. I was like, please leave. Mm-hmm. But there are people that are so hungry for attention. I do think that there is somebody that would do that, Kensie. But what I would suggest is that is like less than 1%. Like, where's the impact? Okay, so like deal with it in a case-by-case scenario. If these people are protesting, so be it. You're entitled to protest. I don't really care about that. But when I hear that scientific studies are being devoted to figuring out, the strength difference between a transgender male and I don't even like the terminologies are too much for my brain. Like, I'm just saying, when we're devoting that much money to researching that, I have a huge issue. Because I don't care about I don't care. If you feel like you're in the wrong body, I don't quite get it. I really don't. I don't have to get it. Do you. Whatever makes you happy. But not at my own expense, right? Everybody's got a plight. So I don't have a gripe with that. Okay? And I'm not going to sit here and tell you what you're doing is wrong. It might be wrong for me, but if it's right for you, hey, as long as you're happy. If you're happy, in theory, you're not bothering me. But the problem I have is we're so obsessed with sports. Sports are dumb. Yeah. Do you know how dumb golf is, Kensie? Golf is a rich white man's game. First of all, they don't want any opposition, okay? Can't have any defense because, the white man's got to win, right? So the only opposition that golf has is wind. All right?
Yes.
And the whole game...
That's the problem I have with sports.
Yeah. The whole game is we got to get the little tiny white ball in the hole all the way over there. Mm-hmm. That's the whole game. And you don't even walk to get cardio. You got to have a little cart. It's a rich white man's lazy game.
Yeah.
I would love to play more of it.
Yeah. I mean, I love sports, but not for like the same reason that I think a lot of people do. Like, I would be happy to be at my niece's volleyball game, watching her have a great time and learning about, the values and morals of teamwork. And I love a good football game. Like, obviously I love Notre Dame football. Like I said, there's nothing scripted about that. But when you watch like the Kansas City Chiefs though in the NFL,
so glad you brought that up.
That's completely scripted.
So what was with that ref running off at the top of the screen? He called the play and then they reversed the play, or they let it stay?
Nobody understands what happens with the Kansas City Chiefs and the things that they get away with. Like, nobody understands it.
Yeah, but I mean, it was like the ref comes. Like, I don't watch football. Okay, so I saw the clip, but it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out. You got this ref in the top corner running across the screen, waving a flag like he's surrendering, like, to Paul Revere. I don't know, I don't know what he was doing, but nobody else was like involved in that. Like, there's a whole game going on, and this guy's like, what was he doing? Like, he looked like a streaker. I don't know.
I didn't see the clip, but yeah.
Yeah. So everyone's saying, oh, that was rigged. And then you see the clip of Kelce walking out, and he's angry. Mm-hmm. Probably because he knows the Eras tour is coming to an end.
Yeah, God forbid we upset Travis Kelce.
Oh my God! First of all, who told that guy a mustache was a good idea ever?
I don't think it was Taylor.
Well, first of all, I'm going to get hate for this. That girl's got no stage presence. She has no stage presence. She's a brilliant businesswoman.
How dare you?
She has no stage presence. I'm watching these. She's not. And I don't even like, I think she's a brilliant businesswoman and I actually really like her, but she doesn't have any stage presence.
Yeah. She's kind of an awkward performer.
Yeah. Sorry.
I love her too, but like her dancing makes me cringe. And I think maybe that's because I was, a dancer my whole life, but,
I think they're the perfect couple.
Yes. They're very, very cute.
Well, I think they're they're clearly damaged people, right? But I mean, aren't we all?
Yeah.
But you can clearly see, like, her damage is very overt, right? And he's desperate for a career beyond the NFL. Desperate.
Oh yeah, he was on SNL. He's on commercials.
Right.
Documentaries.
He wants to be an action star. It's very obvious, and he probably will wind up being an action star. He will take the Jason Statham sort of playbook.
Yep.
But I think what may have started out as a relationship of convenience actually is a great business partnership for the two of them, because she needs to be.
That's how it's always felt.
But that's a lot of these relationships as a whole. That's how they function. You kind of, when you're that type of person, you need to have somebody like that.
Yes.
So you can't.
Well, she didn't need anybody like that, but yeah.
Well, no, but she does, because it's for her to be with somebody who's trying to make it and be surrounded by that insecurity doesn't work. But she does need. It's clear that she needed somebody who has their own thing going and their own self-confidence, so that they don't feel threatened by her. And he does not feel threatened by her. He clearly enjoys it because I think he recognizes the value it provides him.
Yeah.
But that's a joint venture there, and there might be a genuine relationship there. I'm not trying to say there isn't, but that is a business match. And when you look at that business match, then you have to go, okay, so what is driving these decisions in favor of the Chiefs? Right? Because we got to keep them out there, right? Like, so it's a TV show. Sports or entertainment first. So then you go, is it really that far stretched to say that, they're constantly being favored? No. It's good for business.
Yep.
Is he really that good of a player?
Yeah, he's pretty good. I mean,
has he fallen off?
Relatively speaking.
But I've seen comments that he's not what he used to be. I don't know how true this is because I don't watch.
I don't know. I mean, I haven't always watched the Kansas City Chiefs, but I think the numbers speak for themselves with their multiple Super Bowl titles.
Right. But that's a team. That's not all him.
Yeah, but I think a lot of it is him,
I want to know why.
Tight end, so.
You can find a comment on all sides of a conversation.
Yeah.
But people like to give him a hard time because he's in the limelight. I don't know why he was PO'd, but the shot of him yesterday coming off the field, I mean, he was livid. And so who knows? I mean, maybe.
Oh no. So sad.
But I wonder if he felt his ego was bruised because they cheated.
Oh yeah.
In other words, they couldn't walk out of there without a little help from the refs.
Right.
No?
No, you're right.
This is your world, not mine. All I'm saying is it's a show.
Yeah. I mean, listen, as a Bengals fan, I hate the Chiefs. I do not watch the Chiefs.
Well, don't hold back. You don't like the guy, obviously, because I can hear you holding back.
Well, I don't mind Travis Kelce because he actually played for Cincinnati, so he's a huge UC fan, which that's who I work for. But it's just the Chiefs. It's Pat Mahomes that I can't stand.
He just seems kind of smug.
People call him Kermit the Frog, and it's the funniest thing in the entire world.
Why?
Because he sounds like Kermit the Frog.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, just listen to him speak.
I'm good. All right. Well, listen. We ended on a topic that is out of my norm, but I think the correlation to all of that is going back to the comments on arts and education and all that, is I think sports are like overvalued in our culture. If I even dare call it a culture. I think sports are overvalued. I think athletes are overpaid. I mean, I think movie stars are overpaid too, of course. But, you know, to your point about college sports and all that, like that, I mean, that there's real value there if you're actually like teaching these kids like how to function as a team and, you know, but even college sports has become a full-fledged business. So I'm not I'm not saying like don't fund sports. You know, I have friends that played football in high school. I know it helped them and it was a guiding force for them. But I'm a proponent of the arts, and I feel like the arts are all but dead. And when we start to argue over, you know, athletes and this, that, and the other, I'm like, you're basically arguing over actors in a show.
Yes, and it's a production. It's a produced.
Yeah. So
thing.
I can't even waste my time. I don't care. I just don't care. Like, they just don't play the game. Oh, but well, I spent all my life practicing to play volleyball. It's volleyball. It's not neurosurgery. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, let's stop. Over glamorizing sports and athletes.
Yeah. I mean, no other country does it like this. I mean, everybody is, of course, obsessed with, you know, soccer, and that's the worldwide sport. But we have so many different leagues and so many different types of athletes, and it's a entertainment industry.
It is. And that's why calling it rigged, it might be strong. It's produced. It is produced.
It's completely produced.
It's just no coincidence. And by the way, it has to be. Like, you ever look at, like, you know, they have to make all the T-shirts for, like, the Super Bowl, you know? And they know well ahead of time they got to make T-shirts for both teams, and there's going to be a pile of shirts that are going to get thrown out. Okay?
Yeah.
But, like, they have to produce ahead of time. So, okay, at least we have two teams to choose from. All right.
Right.
You know, like, it's a business. You know, you don't just go, well, we're waiting until the last minute. Who do you think's going to win? Oh, all right. Now tell the guy to print the shirts. No, like, we're planning ahead.
Yes.
It just is. These things don't happen overnight. By the way, and I'll leave you with this. You want to talk about, like, an athlete. I don't know who's up in years. Okay. So I don't know who, like, the next, like, let's use Tyson as an example. I guarantee you that every major media outlet has a video package and an obituary on standby for Mike Tyson.
Damn.
No, I'm just telling you, that's the way the world works. These people, they have anybody who is probably on a death pool, for lack of a better word, they have an obit for.
Yeah.
Right? So, did Jimmy
He's
Carter...
only 58.
Well, no, I just picked him as an example because he's just up in years and he's notable.
Okay.
But,
okay,
like,
fair.
pick somebody older. Okay, like obviously Jimmy Carter, like, yeah, like, the writing's been on the wall for quite some time, so that's not as obvious. But, like, I guarantee you, anybody who's, you know, of note and, you know...
Joe Biden.
Yeah, but that's an obvious one. But, yeah, like Mike Tyson, like, I guarantee you there's an obit written for him. Think of an older athlete that, you know, I guarantee you there's an obit out there for Gretzky. There's an obit out there for Michael Jordan. Like, they're not going to wait till, God forbid, something happens to put something together. So, just like sports, news is entertainment. In fact, it was Leslie Moonves who coined the phrase infotainment. Leslie Moonves will become the head of CBS.
Yeah, that's spot on.
Anyway, we'll end it there, Kensie. We've done this for far too long.
we're rambling at this point.
Are we though? I mean, it all really does tie back together. So
it does. It is crazy. We don't even plan for this stuff, and it just naturally happens.
So anyway, I appreciate you, and maybe don't cry on the second Wicked showing.
I will still be sobbing. I listened to Defying Gravity in the car yesterday, and I'm like fighting back tears. So my fiance is not laughing at me or calling me out again for being emotional and for things that surprised him. I
need a little recording of you singing along next time you go to Wicked. Just put your phone on the seat next to you, hit record.
So I am not singing during the movie.
All right, whatever.
But if we do that cooking segment and I see some pirouettes, you know, you got yourself a deal.
I'll do pirouettes if you sing at Wicked and record it. Pirouettes are easy.
Pirouettes, well, why are you trying to ruin the movie for everybody else?
Pirouettes, I just put my hands up over my head and turn in circles.
Oh my gosh.
It's the pas de bourrée that's a little bit more work.
What? The pas de bourrée is so easy compared to a pirouette.
Not for me.
You just trip over yourself.
The pas de bourrée is like, there's like a leap.
No, there's not.
There's no leap in a pas de bourrée?
No.
Is it a turn?
Do you know what a pas de bourrée is?
I think so.
Oh my gosh.
No, wait. Am I confusing my pirouettes and my pas de bourrées? We got to go. We're out of time. Are you ready to spice up your kitchen this holiday season? Pampered Chef has all the goodies from spatulas and mandolins to amazing pots and pans and knives. Knives, Kensie. Plus, don't miss out on small appliances like the deluxe air fryer and the coffee maker to make your holiday cooking a breeze. Reach out to Colleen Herman, pamperedchef.com/PWS/Colleen Herman. Are you on vacation and the unthinkable happens? Have you been injured in an accident? Don't wait. Get the help you deserve when you need it the most at the law offices of Nicole M. Kennedy. Nicole M. Kennedy fights for your rights and works tirelessly to get you the compensation you deserve. She's there to guide you through every step. So call now 305-213-5438 for a free consultation. You don't pay unless they win. The law offices of Nicole M. Kennedy, 305-213-5438. Last minute shipping from the parks. My friends at the UPS store, Kensie, they are so helpful. They will pack up a lightsaber and make sure it gets to its final destination. And many times before you do, but that's less a comment on them and more a comment on the airlines. So go visit my friends at 6526 Old Brick Road behind the Magic Kingdom. That's what happens when you don't give me ad copy and I get to improvise. Tell them Joe Coconut sent you. They don't even know who he is. Anyway, go reach out to William.bailey if you want to book your travel. William is not only a fantastic travel agent, but he is the best when it comes to competitive rates and destination planning. William provides a customizable experience. Check out William.bailey Travel. You can go to my website, fill out the travel form at royces.com, or email William.bailey at academytravel.com, William.bailey at academytravel.com. Now, Kensie, you know, you're embarking on this next chapter in your life, and sometimes as we build our future, we spend so much time worrying about our life and the moment that we often forget to plan for the life for those we're going to leave behind. So what I would say to you, Kensie, is with no estate plan, you could be leaving those you love with high taxes and probate fees, not to mention an incomplete or divided estate. You need a will or a trust. Contact Russell at RK Law. If you live in Florida, Russell at RK Law to make your appointment today and safeguard the future of those you love. Russell at rklawpro.com. All right, goodbye. See you next time, everybody.